Human development, this is section 4, emotions. Why do some people try harder than others to succeed? People work hard partly due to extrinsic motivation, a desire for external rewards like money. Work and other behaviors can also be due to intrinsic motivation, a desire for internal satisfaction. The need for achievement. Need achievement is a specific motive to strive for excellence and to master tasks, bringing intense satisfaction from doing so. Individual differences. People with high need achievement tend to share the following characteristics. They set challenging but realistic goals. They actively seek success, take risks when necessary, and can wait for rewards. They are intensely satisfied when they do well, but if they feel they have tried their best, are not too upset by failure. Differences in achievement motivation also appear in the kinds of goals people set in achievement-related situations. People with learning goals engage in achievement-related activities mainly to get better at those activities. They tend to watch others and to struggle with problems on their own. When they seek help, they will ask for task-related information, but not quick, easy answers that will remove challenges. People with performance goals are primarily concerned with demonstrating competence they believe they already possess. They tend to seek information about how well they performed compared to others. When they seek help, they will ask for the right answer rather than tips on how to do it themselves. They tend to avoid new challenges and tend to quit in response to failure. The development of achievement motivation. Achievement motivation develops in early childhood under the influence of both genetic and environmental factors. Inherited behavioral tendencies may support or undermine the development of achievement motivation. This motivation is shaped by what children learn from others, especially from parents. Parents of children who score high on achievement motivation tests tend to do certain things. They encourage children to try difficult tasks, especially new ones, and they offer praise and other rewards for success. They encourage children to find ways to succeed rather than letting them just complain about failure. And they prompt children to go on to the next, somewhat more difficult challenge. Ideas about achievement motivation differ from culture to culture. Children's books, stories, and television programs have achievement themes that reflect the cultural views on achievement. Which motives move me the most? Abraham Maslow described the 5 basic classes of hierarchical organized needs. He stressed that lower needs must be at least partially satisfied before higher needs can be effective motivators. From bottom to top, these motives are physiological, such as needs for food, water, oxygen, and sleep; safety, such as a need for a secure source of income and a place to live; belongingness and love, such as the need to be part of social groups and to have affectionate sexual and non-sexual relationships with others; esteem, such as the need to be respected as a useful, honorable individual; and self-actualization, which means to reach one's full potential as a human being. Maslow's system is criticized as being too simplistic. Even with unmet lower-level needs, higher-level needs in the hierarchy may motivate some people. People can seek to satisfy several needs at once, and different cultures differ in the ordering of needs. The existence, relatedness, and growth, or ERG theory, places needs in 3 categories. Existence needs, such as for food and water; relatedness needs for social interactions and attachments; and growth needs, such as for developing one's capabilities. The ERG theory does not assume that needs must be satisfied in a particular order, but motivation to pursue them depends on time and situation. How do feelings differ from thoughts? The defining characteristics. The inner or subjective experience of emotion has several characteristics. Emotion is usually temporary with a clear beginning and end, is positive or negative, and can vary in intensity. Emotion arises partly from mental assessment of a situation, and it alters thought processes. Emotion brings on an action tendency, a motivation to behave in a certain way. Emotions are passions that you feel rather than states you can totally control. Objectively measurable aspects of emotion include expressive displays and physiological responses. An emotion is a temporary experience with positive or negative or mixed qualities. People feel emotion with varying intensity as happening to the self, generated in part by mental assessment of situations and accompanied by learned and innate physical responses. Through emotion, people communicate internal states and intentions to others. Emotion triggers and guides thought and organizes, motivates, and sustains behavior and social relations. The biology of emotion. Brain areas of the central nervous system are involved in the generation and experience of emotions, and the autonomic nervous system gives rise to many of the physiological changes associated with emotional arousal. Activity in the brain's limbic system, especially the amygdala, is central to emotion. Voluntary or faked facial expressions are controlled by the brain's pyramidal motor system, while the automatic or felt facial expressions are controlled by the brain's extrapyramidal motor system. The right hemisphere is more important than the left in the experience of negative emotion, the perception of any emotion exhibited in faces or other stimuli, and the facial expressions of an emotion. The autonomic nervous system, or the ANS, part of the peripheral nervous system, carries information between the brain and most body parts. The ANS modulates the ongoing activity of the body's organs. The ANS is organized into two parts. Emotions can activate either part. The parasympathetic nervous system releases acetylcholine onto target organs, leading to the activity related to the protection, nourishment, and growth of the body. The sympathetic nervous system releases norepinephrine onto target organs, helping prepare the organism for vigorous activity. This system stimulates the fight or flight syndrome, a pattern of increased heart rate and blood pressure, rapid or irregular breathing, dilated pupils, sweating and dry mouth, increased blood sugar, and goosebumps, which prepare the body to deal with stressors. You cannot consciously experience the brain mechanisms that alter the activity of the ANS. Any conscious efforts have indirect effects on it. Which emotion expressions are innate and which are learned? In humans, facial expressions play a primary role in communicating emotions. The human face can generate thousands of different expressions, and people, especially females, are good at detecting them. People are sensitive to even small changes in facial expressions. Charles Darwin saw basic emotional facial expressions as universal, genetically determined, and serving the adaptive role of displaying emotional states to others. Thus, Darwin claimed facial expressions are largely unlearned and fundamentally social in nature. Infants show appropriate emotional facial expressions without being taught. Blind infants, who cannot imitate what they see in others, show the same emotional expressions as sighted infants. For many basic emotions, people of all cultures show similar facial responses to similar emotional stimuli. People show culture and situation-specific variations in emotional facial expressions. There is also a certain degree of cultural variation in recognizing some emotions and in expressing certain emotions. Paul Ekman and colleagues categorized 17 types of smiles, including false smiles and masking smiles. The smile that occurs when with genuine happiness is called the Duquesne smile. A person's repertoire of facial expressions expands with age, as he or she practices imitating others. Emotional expressions are probably operantly shaped by others, thus ensuring that they do not become so personalized that the people would not understand them. Children gradually learn an emotion culture, rules that govern what emotions are appropriate in what circumstances and what emotional expressions are allowed. These rules can vary between genders and among cultures. Emotion cultures also shape how people describe feelings. Some emotion words in other languages have no English meaning, and some English emotion words have no equivalent in other cultures. In uncertain situations, social referencing helps you figure out how to behave. Others' emotional states and facial expressions give you a reference on how to behave. Infants who cannot yet understand spoken language can depend on adults' emotional expressions for information. Children also pick up gender-appropriate behavior from peers. Social and cultural training tends to support and amplify any biological predispositions that distinguish boys and girls. Lie detection. Polygraphs try to detect lying by measuring ANS activity thought to be specific to lying. Presumably, ANS measures reflect one's anxiety or guilt about not telling the truth. Using a control question test, ANS responses to control questions, "Have you ever lied?" are compared to responses to relevant questions, "Did you stab someone on May 31st, 2005? An innocent person should have a stronger emotional response to the control questions than to the relevant questions. The directed lie test compares a person's physiological reactions when asked to lie and when telling the truth. The guilty knowledge test seeks to determine if a person reacts in a notable way to information about the crime that only the perpetrator would know. Estimates on the accuracy of polygraphs vary widely, but most researchers agree that a guilty person can fool a polygraph, and some innocent people can be mislabeled as guilty. The results of a polygraph test are affected by what people think about the act of lying and about the value of the test. Lie detecting devices that do not depend on a link between deception and ANS responses are being investigated. How to tell when someone is lying. There are general verbal responses. They may take longer to start answering, may answer too quickly or before the question is completed, often ask the questioner to repeat the question or they repeat it themselves. They're overly polite or apologetic dialogue, persistent complaints, unnatural silence, the behavioral cluster of deception, and deceptive people follow certain behavioral patterns. For general behaviors, there's increased discomfort and anxiety, hostility, unmerited anger towards you, persistent evasiveness, and resistance. In your posture, early signs of extreme rigidity followed by alternating stiffness and relaxation. Hands, legs, objects put in front of the body to form a barrier, like folding arms or crossing legs. Feigned lack of interest. The posture changes caused by topic changes, not facing you, distancing, or leaning away from you. Rubbing the forehead near the temple region, squeezing the face, rubbing the neck, or stroking the back of the head with the hand. Using fewer hand movements to illustrate their actions than usual, or movement away from you. Lip licking and hard swallowing, wringing hands, and hiding the eyes are all gestures and movements that are seen in liars. General expressions are averting the eyes, focusing the eyes, some will try to stare down to show control, face whitening, or face flushing. And that is it for Section 4, Emotions.